Live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the Path.
You're listening to Live from the Path. We're coming from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper.
Here we are. I'm excited to be here, Ben.
Why? Why would you say that?
I don't know. Why? I guess it's a valid counter question. I don't know why I'm excited to be here.
I don't understand.
No, man. All right, fine.
Here's what you should be, though. Here's what we got going on the show tonight. We have Bubba has a social question, a question of social appropriateness.
Yes.
Is there a preview?
I mean, it might give it away, but I'll try and figure this out.
It's okay. Never mind. I'll set it up. It's to do with effluvium.
What?
That's how you should think about it.
What's effluvium?
It's to do with effluvium.
Oh. Does anyone else know what effluvium is, or is this
no idea? I'm just
a word that Ben made up today?
Yeah,
I smile and nod a lot.
Ben has lost all of his friends because he talks like that.
It's to do.
We had that conversation today. So yes.
And you think it would get better over like text message, but
no,
it doesn't.
Ben said the word quagmire today.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
okay, see, Dan is in.
I said no one under 50 has said the word quagmire. And Dan pops in and goes,
oh yeah, that's a good one.
It's like outside of Family Guy, no one under 50 has said that word in forever.
All right, never mind. Dan didn't bail me out.
No.
What a quagmire.
He invited you.
Okay, so anyway, Buva's got a social question to do with effluvium. We have an article. I came across an article today that said you can't be holy and happy.
How quippy.
Put that on the billboard.
What
That'll
a
get 'em in.
quagmire of a situation there, Ben.
The question is this the reality?
You can't be holy and happy.
Yeah.
Has everyone else read this article? Because I haven't read it.
I've read it.
Okay, I would like to I'm not going to make a prediction. I'm just going to, I already feel like I know what this is about.
Okay, wait, hold on. What's your prediction? What do you think it's about?
I think they're going to end up talking about the difference between happiness and joy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll see if that plays out.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
see. Also, we're last week, if you played Woke or Toke, one, I hope you did well. And secondly, you're going to make you didn't do very well.
No, I hope they didn't do well.
Why?
It's more fun if I'm great at it and they aren't.
You're not. You're the host. Alex Trebek doesn't go eat it. You didn't get the answer right.
Listen to me. Yes, he does. When he goes home, he goes, Alex, you've done it again.
I saved us all kinds of money.
Those questions were fantastic.
Anyway, so that was America's second fastest growing internet game show. And we thought if last week we served the potatoes, today we're going to serve the pie. This is America's number one fastest growing internet game show, Secular versus Solomon. And I'm going to give you a hint. For those of you who have been listening to the show for a very long time, this is a retro edition, meaning I did not go out and find new quotes to support this particular episode. I just happen to have notes sitting on this computer from way long ago, and I'm gonna recycle them. And so we'll see how you did. We'll see if your show acumen and biblical aptitude carry you through this episode of Secular versus Solomon.
That is why some preachers quit their churches every 3 years, so they can just keep recycling them over and over again. I really know guys who've done that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
It's pretty bold to say I've written 3 years of solid content. Like, I don't know.
That's all I got.
I mean, almost everybody I know that either preaches or teaches comes home and goes, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if that landed.
I do 1 week, and I'm like, I shouldn't do that again.
Well, I don't know. I was just thinking that's gold, Dan. You should write these things down and help a pastor out.
Maybe so.
Recycle every 3 years. Well, that's hot diggity.
Yeah, Moses only had to write once. You say that? Everybody else churned out new content.
I bet you Chris Tomlin, he keeps singing the same songs over and over. He's doing all right.
That's because people aren't holy yet. He's like, holy, holy.
He's happy.
He's like, holy, keep doing it.
People are holy. Chris Thomas putting out another album says, you're not holy yet.
I will stop when you are righteous. Okay. All right, let's start with the and then we got some advice on deer life in the past.
I got Pope style.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah. Whoa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike has some Pope style advice.
It comes via Hosea.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Hosea.
All right, we're going to start with the article. Well, then we're going to make our way through the bog of the episode. You can't be holy and happy.
Wait a minute. Wasn't my Pope style the bog?
No, that was alluding to Movus Effluvium story.
Okay, got it. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't even know what that means, and I hate it.
It's very buggy. In the countless conversations I've had with non-Christians, says the writer of this article, I've heard just about every reason you can imagine as to why they rejected Christianity. That said, I've found that if you can get past the superficial responses, such as there being no evidence for God, etc., there are two primary justifications that rise to the top. The first is something I've written about in the past and labeled the number one argument against Christianity: bad experiences with religion, and in particular professing Christians who look nothing like Christ in their behavior. The feeling is summed up by Gandhi, who said, I like your Christ, I do not like your Christians. Your Christians are so unlike your Christ. That's a salient point. Two, the next reason has to do with the Christian life and its expectations, primarily its moral demands. The feeling is that the day in and day out life of a Christian is not a fun one, but rather a drudgery filled with the denial of nearly every pleasure available. No fulfilling sex, no meaningful possessions, no nothing, and who wants that? Are you running into that protest?
Yes.
I have for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, me too. The devil,
Yeah, I was just checking with you guys.
just making sure.
I just want to see if everybody in the room was on agreement on that one.
I find that one more prevalent than the first one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Really?
To be honest, but I mean, my main audience is youth. But like, there's some of the first one for sure.
Right, yeah.
But most of it is like their experience with the first one, because the people who were following Jesus they knew, like, struggled with the second one, right? Like, it was rule based and terrible, and
Yeah. It's the Billy Joel paradox. I'd rather laugh with the sinners than die with the saints. Basically, even if there was a God, this religion sounds lame.
yeah, yes,
Okay.
for sure.
The devil's lie of you can't be holy and happy has likely run through the heads of everyone presented with the claims of Christianity, including yours and mine, if we're to be honest. The tempter says that to be fulfilled, you have to cast off God's moral framework, live how you want, and then you'll be happy. Initially, it sounds good, but there's a problem. We're not happy. At least that's the conclusion of a Gallup poll taken a couple of years ago. Unhappiness is now at a record high. People feel more anger, sadness, pain, worry, and stress than ever before. The study resulted in a book by Gallup called Blind Spot, with the author saying global misery was rising well before the pandemic. In fact, unhappiness has been steadily climbing for a decade, and its rise has been in the blind spot of almost every world leader. I mean, I don't know why we're asking the world leaders.
Right, exactly.
Might be posturing that question
Now,
a little
What are
bit.
your thoughts on this?
Do you think
you
that
think people are
overall
happy?
unhappiness is actually rising, or people are willing to complain about it? Like, I can only speak
Valid
from an
point.
American Western civilization culture, but, like, I mean, people. My grandpa was unhappy, and he wouldn't speak a word about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's just not something he would share or tell you about, and would consider it like either part of the gig or a passing moment that we're not gonna, like, mark down and say this is long lasting.
Well, your grandfather probably didn't expect to be happy.
Also true.
I mean, so that's the problem. It's like I don't.
Right.
Yeah, we're not meeting our expectations. We have high expectations of happiness all the time, and there is no such thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, man, I'm really sad because I'm not happy all the time.
I mean, do you think it's like is it as unrealistic as that? Because, like, I think people in general are like, well, I'm not happy even half the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's interesting to me actually that the stat is only in the last decade.
Right.
But in my mind, I guess what I think is we got to a point where we realize that the suppression of things that you're not dealing with is starting to be destructive to people.
Yeah.
But it's latent things that are showing up in destructive ways. And so I think we recognize as humanity that the posturing of, say, the 50s and 60s, and even like there was a conservatism around what you were willing to share about yourself, so like to keep up your image, even through the 70s and 80s, that I think we started to find out, okay, this is bad. This is not helpful to people. And then there was probably a short amount of time where we were sharing at the right level.
Right.
I'm struggling. I don't feel up to snuff. Whatever. Like you're getting your feelings out. And then after a very short amount of time, I'm going to say no more than 3 to 5 years, we shifted from being transparent to indulging in it.
Yeah.
To like embracing difficulties as identities.
Badges.
Right. To not seeing these things as things to overcome, but as if they are allocated lot in life. And that has continued to perpetuate itself into people and beliefs and systems of beliefs where, like, it's not even about we talked about grit like a number of episodes ago, but like there's like a perception that like you can't even do anything. It is just your lot. Like your decisions didn't contribute it, and it's not something with some like muster up some courage and some fortitude. You might be able to get through it and be stronger on the other side. It's just like this is who I am, or this is my lot in life. And so once you do that, though, you're unhappy and you're stuck there. There's a difference in like people who are in a rough spot but who are actively working through it are going to reflect a different level of happiness, at least some percent of the time, than people who are like, my lot is unhappy and it cannot move, and that is circularly depressing, and it will continue to act upon itself. So I do think it is maybe not a surprise to me to find that over the last decade, the things that could make people unhappy are not particularly different. Keeping up with the Joneses, normal human tragedies, sadness in the world, unmet expectations. There's no time in the world, through time, of which these things have not been present. There is a question of how permanent they are and how much they help define you versus how much they otherwise drive you to interacting with the world in different ways.
Well, it's interesting. I can't remember the specific source. I'm gonna have to find it, but like there was a podcast I was listening to where there was a doctor talking about how the word trauma doesn't mean anything anymore. Friggin' everybody has trauma. Everybody's got traumatic experiences, and he was just basically saying like, no, you have difficulties in your life.
Yeah, some discomfort.
Yes, yeah. Right. Like just because you ran into a wall does not mean it was a traumatic event.
Yeah.
Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we're starting to lose the meaning of the word trauma for those who are actually going through trauma. I half the time don't believe that I've gone through any trauma, and like I can't imagine being on the other end of that where it's like, man, I had a bad traumatic day. My boss yelled at me. I'm like, what?
Well, yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Right.
How is that trauma? Like, that's ridiculous. Sorry. It's just lost all meaning.
No.
I do mentoring at the local high school
Yep.
once a week with a student, and then we're in this room, and like there's this continual stream of students that come and go. They need a snack because they're traumatized, like, oh, we're having a bad day, and oh, they made us have homework, oh, there's a test, and I feel like, man, this poor teacher is trying to monitor things, and I need a drink, I need a snack, I need to sit down, I need a rest, I need a break, and I think, wow, there's a lot of unhappiness going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and they truly feel it. I mean, it's not, they truly feel it.
Yes.
I've been over 600 pounds before. I have embraced the trauma snack.
Ah,
So
yeah,
I get
yeah.
it.
Yeah, and that's the difficulty, and I think we've talked about this in maybe multiple places or multiple times before, is that like it's right to acknowledge that the way these are actual true feelings.
Yep.
Whether they are right sized or whether they are taking in the world correctly or in the right proportion is actually a completely separate discussion. It doesn't say that your feelings aren't real. It's just whether they should be honored, what weight they should carry,
Right.
Yeah.
whether they're lying to you or not, those are different questions. But like it's interesting when you were talking about trauma, because I actually thought today I saw examples of where I thought the word trigger, the word microaggression, and the word gaslighting all have the same types of problems. There was a woman on YouTube or something and was talking about how she divorced her husband or something, and she goes, "I'm getting triggered right now." I'm like, "You mean you're remembering?" She was regretting her divorce. She was threatening to divorce her husband to try to get him to do something or other, and expecting him to like beg her not to go or whatever, and he just didn't contest the divorce. And so she ended up divorced from this man, and it sounded like she was in a really good spot. Like she might have looked like this was totally in the wrong. This seems like a pretty decent guy. And anyway, she's like looking back on it, and like she's having memories of being in her house with her kids and with her husband and happy holidays or whatever. And like she's caused almost all of this to happen. And she's like, I'm being triggered. I'm like, no, you're just remembering. You're remembering something that happened to you, and you have a feeling about it.
Some regret.
Yeah, this is way different than a guy sitting in his chair and hears a transformer explode 2 blocks away, and it brings him back to Nam.
Yeah.
Like, these are different types of things. Like, yes, those are also memories, but, like, there's something about that memory that his whole body has held on to. Like,
it triggers an explosion.
Yes, his kidney is telling on him. His kidney is like, even I remember what happened.
Exactly.
And so that's the same. And, like, similar to what did I say? Trauma, microaggressions. Oh, yeah, gaslighting. This a different woman who was actually, it was like a series of ladies who like shouldn't have divorced, and she's like, and he gaslit me, and like she explained the situation. He's like, oh, he lied to you. Well, yeah, I get it, and I get how it would totally hurt.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, we did have a word for that already.
Right.
What does the word gaslight mean again?
It's intending to communicate a situation where like people are treating you like you're nuts. Like you remember a particular like, oh, I remember you said this to me, or this situation happened, and like most likely to be what people consider to be a manipulative, overbearing,
Right.
narcissistic spouse who's going to act like none of that ever
That
happened.
didn't happen, yeah.
They're blowing up
That-
the
that
whole
didn't
world
happen at all.
around you.
Yeah. I punched you in the face a month and a half ago, and as you're trying to tell me about how it made you feel today, I'm like, that never even happened.
never
man.
happened.
Like, what are you talking about?
Why is it called gaslighting?
Well, okay, I think it's
From a
trying to
movie.
imply. And people do this. Like this is, again, conceptually, it's not crazy, but it's not just. They're trying not to say I just lied, but also you destroyed all the things around you.
yeah.
So like you isolated someone with your narrative.
Yeah.
Which is different than like.
It comes with a lot of narcissistic tendencies to make
Yeah.
it actually a gaslit situation.
Okay.
And it's not a one-off. Like, it's not a situation where, like, you and I had one interaction and I gaslit you. It kind of colors a relationship that we might have had, mainly within a narcissistic situation
Yeah.
where, like, again, like Ben said, it's isolating you from your own feelings, from people believing that you could possibly be telling the truth, all kinds of stuff. It's a lot more serious than just, oh, that person lied.
Yeah, he lied to me.
Yeah.
Well, again, and I think the point is that like if our words don't mean things, we cannot make distinctions around some man or woman whose partner has actually done this
Yep,
to them.
right.
Because there's a lot more to unpack there versus dude lied to me or lady lied to me. Okay. I mean, and that's bad, but like again, you've miscolored as if you're indulging in your harm. And like we need to deal with your harm, transparent about our harm and our fallibilities and such. That's not the same thing as it becoming you.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I don't. Maybe I'm not surprised, Mike. I think to your point, are people more unhappy? I don't know that our situations would the circumstances of the world would justify that. The world is richer than it ever has been. Fewer people are in poverty than they ever have been. More people are living in at least nominal freedom than they ever have been. The amount of people dying in casualties of war is low. It's just not like it's not justified with the circumstances. And so the question is, what is making us more? I don't want frail comes off wrong, but like what makes us more susceptible to unhappiness that we are not persevering through the troubles that are surrounding us, and more people are willing to say they're unhappy. I think that is right.
So well, and I think that proves Dan's point. Like I think the truth is like the metric just keeps moving. You know, where like we talk, my wife and I talk about this every once in a while. Is like some of the stereotypical things like society would have a woman in charge of. If that was her whole job, you know, and she had all day, and her only thing was to cook or clean or take care of the house, take care of the kids, whatever. And she has said, like, if this was my whole gig, then yeah, could I find joy in it? And I think the answer is yes, right? If it's the thing that you were in charge of doing and like you were happy to do it, and it saw some actual output for your family and for those around you, just like a guy that would never leave his homestead, like he farmed it all day. He wasn't out trying to get coffee and buy lunch and have to drive through traffic and own a decent car. He's just like, I grow grain, and every day I make sure the grain's still there, and I check on the cows and whatever.
Yep.
And so it's an over fanciful, looking back on time and saying this is what it could have been like. But like overall, we just keep moving the needle, So like the more that the convenience shows up, the more we think, well, this will be a burden off of me. And it isn't working that way, right? So you don't feel any more rested or like you have any less responsibilities, even though your bills now come to you automatically over the computer and you don't have to go out and get the bills. And what used to be you're like, well, this is going to be cool. Now I don't have to trudge all the way out to the mailbox. Now you're just irritated. Like I get all these every day, all the time, and even the automatic lights that you have, or something where you tell the robot to shut the lights off or something, and you're like, well, there's one thing off my list that I won't have to. I got my lights on timers, and they're LEDs, and so we're saving money, and they're gonna shut off on their own, and this will be great. And you didn't wake up the next day with any less stress or any more rest or any more peace about your life. It's just another thing that when it fails you, you will go, that stupid robot, it was supposed to do this
Right.
for me. Because like you think it'll save you the time, and it never comes up with more time. Everybody feels like they are trying to gain their rest, and they do that by watching a bunch of streaming video or God forbid, a book, to sit down and read or something. But no amount of streaming helps, and everybody knows that. Everyone's fallen victim to the same thing.
Yeah.
There is zero amounts of where, like, I've streamed enough, and now I feel ready to go back to my life. Right? Anytime you sit down and take in more than one movie, more than one show for any extended period of time, all you want to do is stay there.
Yeah.
You don't get energized for your actual life. You basically give it up to do this new life where you don't do anything.
Dang.
And so it's not like overall it's placating, right? It's neutered the highs and the lows and says everyone will be happy in the middle. And like the one thing that the gospel promises, it ain't that.
Yeah.
Right? It is not a complacent, non-eventful, boring days. There's going to be lament days for sure. And then there's going to be overjoyed weeping days that you can't imagine the joy that's coming out of this day. But the one thing that God says is like, you are not just going to sit here and do nothing,
Yeah. You know what's interesting about that? So like, just think if you spent I'll be curious. I'm gonna assume something or presume something. I bet if you go and interviewed the people who were doing like Doctors Without Borders or people who were doing mission work in rough areas where like they're looking at providing medical aid to people and they can't possibly help them all. And there are people who are dying and they're like, this is not necessary. I bet if you were to ask them, are they unhappy? That isn't how they would answer. They might be angry. They might be
Frustrated.
motivated, frustrated,
Yeah,
probably.
time for unhappiness.
Right. But they're not unhappy because what they're doing matters.
Yeah.
The question is there a correlation between how much substantive things we are spending our time on and the level of unhappiness, which is a different correlation to what types of, when I'm doing substantive work, even if it's hard work and difficult to watch and something you cannot conquer like world hunger or something, but it won't make you unhappy, whereas our lack of substantive doing anything that mattered doesn't contribute to the permanence or the sustainment of our unhappiness. I bet it would. I bet it does. I bet we're more open to being unhappy. Because, actually, here's one of the things, if that were true, now I'm building upon my own assertion, is because it's self-centered, right? Most of the time, if you're going to measure, am I doing something that matters, it generally tends to matter to other people.
Yeah.
Even things where you're like, hey, I'm working on the environment. Most of the premise of what you're doing so is for people who are going to benefit or use from it, whether it's
Right.
animals or humans or whatever.
Or later generations.
But even if it was just the environment, like let's just say you're doing something that you feel like matters and you're giving of your own self and your time to do something that you feel like had a bigger benefit for either other people, things, or whatever. The places where you are not doing things that make a significant difference in the world tend to be things that are isolated to you. You sat on your brains and you watched the Netflix all the time, or you played video games or for extended amounts of time, or whatever it was, right? Like it wasn't something that actually interacted with other people or drew them positively. And so that would make sense to me, is that the more self-focused you are, the more prone you are to being unhappy because you're not doing something that has your inner guts go, this is substantive. This mattered. It mattered if I didn't do it. Whereas you could watch or not watch or play or not play or sit on butt or not sit on butt, and like it wouldn't have mattered to the rest of the world. But like if you did or did not do this thing, it made some kind of difference. I think you're probably prone to being more happy about that.
And society has has gone that way as well. Like as that mindset has taken over, then generations are coming up where they don't have the, I keep wanting to say impudence. I think that's probably the wrong word. Or the imperative is probably a better word. They don't have the imperative for the community around them because it's not necessary.
Yes.
Interesting. Because of the way that life is now framed and some of the conveniences that we have, the way that we get our resources, even the work that we do that doesn't require you to go anywhere or do anything. I mean, it requires you to do something, but you're not actively involved in a community. So what was a much stronger pull 40 years ago was what's best for the community, and so and even like take COVID as an example.
That was in the 80s. Mike, did you think about that?
Yeah.
Maybe it's longer back than that. You're old.
Okay, maybe it's longer than the 40s. Yeah. But even if we've talked about like a response to COVID. The right response to COVID would have been if the government was going to throw money, towards people, we should have paid everybody who was at risk to stay home, and let everyone else who wasn't go out and pass this thing around and beat it.
It'd have been cheaper.
And then you would have had a economy that stayed up and running. Right, and we would have let not only this would be hard to swallow politically. I totally understand. Right, there's all kinds of opposing factions to this. But from my point of view, I want to take the at-risk kid and his parents, and everybody can stay home, or everybody above 65 who's more at risk. Like if you're at risk for catching this thing, you stay home, and then the rest of us will pass it around and get it beat, and then go back and keep an economy up and rolling, and keep our community up while that community can hunker. Right. But like that mindset doesn't quite exist this day and age anymore, right? Like with a community-driven mindset where you feel like I'm not pulling my share of what our shared community needs from me. You basically go, well, I don't want to, so I won't. And it's not, and like you could blame younger generations if you want to, but the truth is like they got taught that. That came from somewhere, right? Like a 5-year-old doesn't revolutionize the way that we look. We look at life,
This is going to go differently.
That's right. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, we allowed it. As we pull back from a community, and the self-focus thing, it's the big thing.
Yep.
And it is extremely harmful to people. But even as we think that like what's best for you is self-care, right? And that's not wrong, right? Like, God is not calling you to like not take care of yourself. But it's indulgent self-care. It's not actually helpful self-care. It's indulgent, where it says, like, for this day or for this week or for this year or for this span of my life, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what you think is if I do what I want to do, then I will then be happy.
Yep.
And if you're being honest with yourself, that is not true. And it's not true. But you like trying to convince somebody of that who doesn't want to hear it, or yourself when you're in the midst of doing it, it's a hard sell.
Yeah. My generation and younger, it seems to be a relentless pursuit to understand I and to diagnose I and to figure out me in general, right? Rarely ever do we look externally and try and figure out, like, how can I frame the meaning of my existence, and or trying to figure out what has happened with me, what I've been through, what's wrong with me, all these different things, to in any way look at it through the lens of anyone else or at anyone else. Like, we are very specifically diagnosed to be intentionally self-centered because we feel like we don't have a basis to stand on in which we couldn't be. And it's crazy. Like, it's crazy as I grow and, like, learn about myself, but then more importantly, learn about, like, my place more than just me. I'm a part of communities, like you're saying. Like, that's not something I was taught as a kid. Like, it was not societally pushed. Like, we never did I don't know most of my neighbors, never knew most of my neighbors. Like, we just didn't have conversations outside of that. And, like, we went to school with people, did some activities, but, like, then we went home. Yeah. And we stayed home. And then younger than I, even less so, do they understand? Like, most people are afraid to have a phone call nowadays. Like, they're afraid to be on the phone. Text me. Only text me. Not because it's convenient, but because I'm terrified of interaction. And I'm terrified of anyone outside of my bubble. It's crazy. It's so crazy how minded we are to be about ourselves, but not mindful of anyone else around our circle.
That's interesting on how some of that adds into when you're not interacting with that as much. The presence of things like anxiousness, social anxiousness, perpetuates that isolationism.
100%.
Like you can't get around it.
Yep.
And like what you would think that like if you were more involved in those types of things, then you wouldn't be so worried about how someone's going to react.
Yes.
You know what to be prepared for. You've met all kinds of people, so you're not afraid of all kinds of people and how the interaction is going to go.
The most impactful things some of the most impactful things that have come from any kind of journey you would call from me trying to figure out my brain and my life and stuff has been outside of it. It's been outside. Like the biggest things have been to go, what's happening around me, and what are people dealing with around me, and it's right sizing, because then like if you're doing work with less fortunate communities, and you're doing work with, I mean, any other community, it doesn't necessarily have to be less fortunate or more fortunate, whatever, but like the second you start statistically expanding your sample size, if you will, you start recognizing more and more and more how little it is about you, and how little it is about like the things that you're doing wrong or could be doing wrong, or the things that have been done to you, or all the wrongs that you've dealt with and the traumas and stuff. The second you take a step out your front door and realize that the center of the universe was not the house that you've been holed up in, you start to really, I mean, it truthfully starts to blow up your mentality to go like, oh my gosh, there is so much more than me. Like there's so much more than just what I'm dealing with. And then if you start to pour that out, not necessarily like dump all your stuff onto people, but you start to like bring people in and build a circle, and then build a circle that's outside of that, and start to look outside your own front door, you start to realize how infinitesimally small some of the things you're dealing with are.
Yep.
It right sizes it for you. I mean, you try and take a group of kids right now that have anxiety issues and all these things about traumas that they deal with on a daily basis, not even to make fun of, but like they feel that they need a snack because they're so traumatically affected by regular schoolwork, right? Like you take those kinds of people and you put them into any thought that puts outward, go help out a homeless ministry, go spend time in a different country, understanding that you've never in your life experienced or seen poverty. Like you have no idea what that looks like. And I'm not saying it has to be that extreme. I'm just saying from the perspective of expanding that thought. It is difficult to see those kind of things and then to go back into your own house and go, man, I've got it rough, and man, my life sucks, and man, I've been through trauma.
Yeah.
Like you're in a home that is, and actually I'm going to bring up something Mike said in a youth group I was in maybe 8 years ago, that like Western civilization, we live in air conditioning, right? We go from an air-conditioned home to an air-conditioned car to an air-conditioned shopping mart and or school and or workplace, and then go back out into our air-conditioned car and then go back home. Like we are in actual temperature that is not being mechanically changed less than 30 minutes of the day. And like we think we have trauma in our lives.
Right.
That's crazy.
So we go to the homeless camps every other week, and this last time we went out to a place. It's still winter. It's cold. They're sleeping in tents. We're bringing them some food, some hot meal in the some stuff for that week, and I just had a moment where we're standing there talking to all these guys. One guy has one leg. One gal has a rat literally crawling around her. It's her pet rat. And just crawling in her coat, and she's kissing it in the lips, and I'm just kind of going, okay.
Ooh.
But they're laughing and they're talking and there's some joy. They're like, hey man, we got some, we've built some relationships with these guys, and it's hard to go home and feel sorry for myself,
Right.
Yeah, because it's hard to get back in my truck with a heater.
Right.
And feel sorry for myself.
Yep.
I mean, let alone, but it just struck me because they were laughing. I mean, they were enjoying, they were smiling, they had this community, and they're together and they're for each other and they're helping each other. Like, hey, did you get one? We got a hot coffee. Whoa, hot coffee!
Right.
And it was just like the biggest thrill, sometimes I'd like to take some of those people, but then I don't want them to be
like you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want them.
Kind of.
I don't want to use the homeless community,
Right.
To say don't be,
objectify it. Right.
You know
exactly.
what I'm saying? But it would be a great lesson at the same time. Like,
I think that it kind of proves your point, right? Look what the gospel that Jesus is bringing forth. Like the last shall be first, the first shall be last. The greatest among you will be a servant here. And then look at a generation or a group of people that goes, this is why I can't get on board with God, because he is not concerned with me. Mm-hmm. He's concerned with him, and he's concerned with everybody else but me.
Yeah.
And it's a blinding, right? Because after a little bit of wisdom, you figure out that like the focus on you is where all of your unhappiness is coming from. And it's almost offensive to paint it with that broad of a brush.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is like, I know every dude in this room. I know how you grew up. I know all the stuff that like they would turn around and go, you have this trauma and this trauma and this trauma. And the truth of the matter is someone actually came at me with that big load of stuff. I'm like, you have trauma that you haven't dealt with. And I go, yeah, here's the deal is like, I don't want it.
Right.
Right? Like, I don't care whether it happened or not. I don't want to carry it around
it's not my name
like
tag.
it owns me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't sound like dealing with it. That sounds like giving it a chair at the table and then feeding it and calling it my friend.
Right.
I don't want it in here. Right? And
Right.
like God says, I don't have to have it in here. So, I mean, it's the thing that makes the gospel offensive in a modern time that focuses solely on you and your happiness.
Yeah.
And because you believe that your happiness comes from you. And once again, like at the right time in the middle of the night, you're going to realize that's a load of crap. It's just not true. If it was true, I think people would tell you. Like, I would have bailed on the Jesus thing a long time ago if that was true, because I could find this on my own.
Yeah.
I don't need a God for this. But everybody's had a stint where they tried to find it on their own. And they eventually came to the conclusion that, like, whatever happiness is, I can't find it on my own. It's just flat out not happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hard part to watch. Like, if you know a God and you know what actual happiness is or joy is, and people are settling for less. And they're like, I was happy for a time, I was happy for a period, or this one event happened and it made me happy. And then the rest of the time they're just beaten down and sad, and they just won't frickin' admit it. They're like, this is the best. And you're like, it's obviously not, though.
Yeah.
You know, and you know that, but you just have to be willing to admit it. Or better yet, God will show you.
The article continues, says, so people reject Christianity because they think it won't let them live in a way that will make them happy. But when they live how they want to live, they still aren't happy. Sounds like quite the mess. What are we to do? I'll reply with a game of what if. What if, by our very nature, we have the wrong desires that cause us to love bad things that lead to rotten outcomes and result in us being ultimately unhappy? But what if God can change our nature so that we have the right desires that cause us to love good things in the right way that leads to positive outcomes and results in us being truly happy? If correct, that sounds like a winner to me. Well, guess what? That's the promise of Christianity. It's tough to admit that we're flawed, make mistakes, and no one's to blame but ourselves. C.S. Lewis wrote, believing in a real right and wrong means finding out that you are not very good. Instead of pointing fingers in every direction as most do today, except towards the person in the mirror, Lewis describes past generations of non-Christians as, in many ways, merrier than a modern, but with a deep sadness. When he asked himself what was wrong with the world, he did not immediately reply, the social system or our allies or education. It occurred to him that he himself might be the one of the things that was wrong with the world. When it comes to our human operating system, the Bible has an interesting way of describing our innate moral being. When you were slaves of sin, you were free in regard to righteousness. Therefore, what benefit were you then deriving from the things of which you are now ashamed? Did you catch that? We're originally free in regard to righteousness, which means we can't be good in and of ourselves, at least not how God defines it. We started out with another master, about which Paul asks somewhat sarcastically what benefit came from obeying that master, certainly not lasting happiness. Here's what's interesting. The article here said it had sin in parentheses. We started out with another master, sin. I don't know. I think it's probably helpful and grounds this a little bit better for me to say me.
Right.
Me. We started out with another master. Me. No one would actually go. Someone who doesn't believe in Jesus or someone who's like chosen their own path is not going to go, oh yeah, I choose to be a master to sin. That's not what they're saying.
Right.
It doesn't even land. But
Yes.
if you go, I'm choosing me.
I do what I want. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
And I think that's a clearer way to think about it.
You know what? I reading through that earlier today. What I kept thinking of is this not just true in the spiritual realm,
Right.
but it's like in everything.
Yeah.
I want to eat peanut M&Ms. I want ice cream. I want all this stuff that it's just pure crap. I want chips and dip, and that makes me so happy. And then I feel miserable. And it's the broccoli and the cauliflower and the salads and it's the other stuff that makes me feel good. And the fruit, you know. And when I eat properly, it doesn't take long. I feel like really good.
Yeah.
Right.
You know. And then I know it. You know. But it's for some reason it's like I want to have an ice cream sundae. And then I start having more, and then 3, and then 4, and then do this and that, and then I start feeling slow and it's like I think it's the same thing spiritually.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I agree that's true. And I think that's actually helpful to remember is that for most of the things that you see people who are either struggling with God, not believing in Him, that they're struggling with, it's not like every Christian's not struggling with the same thing.
Yeah.
My boundaries may be different than somebody else's boundaries. The thing that draws me in, maybe it's not gambling, but maybe it's something else. Like everybody knows what this feels like, how much control it has over your life, how often or how much you've been turning it over to God to try to help do that. How many times have you actually taken personal action to set up good fences and restrain or restrict you from doing things? Like, those are the things that make the difference. But like, it's interesting to think that for a person, who has maybe they've OD'd on drugs or something, or tried, and end up in really rough shape. I can't identify with that sort of relationship with drugs. I can identify with that sort of relationship with a few other things. And so I get that they're different substances and the consequences are a little bit differently, but
Right.
this thing that eats at you and goes, I'm going to want to think the thing or do the thing or eat the thing, like, everyone knows what that feeling
Right.
is like, and they know what it feels like to be dominated by it. They know what it feels like to make the decision and regret it, to be ashamed of done any of those things. Like, that's not uncommon with humans. I don't care how 1950s household they appear to be. Everyone struggled with that.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah. So the rest of the article basically prescribes that real happiness, which is Jesus says, "Blessed or happy are those that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled." Does this kind of happiness mean you won't have real enjoyment in your life? Far from it. Do you want to have great sex? Go ahead and enjoy. Just do so within the marital covenant that's been designed for maximum intimacy and pleasure. Do you want to have a nice home or homes? Ooh, Boova, that's you.
No,
She's talking to you.
I barely have a car.
Yeah, you can have he's really saying you're going to get a duplex. And other such material things, no problem. Just earn them from hard work, give back, and be free from the love of money. Let's not pretend the righteousness for sin swap that God does within us means we won't still struggle with pursuing the wrong things. Okay, we talked about that. When he was challenged as to how the professions of faith being made during the Great Awakening could be verified, Jonathan Edwards responded with his work, a treatise concerning religious affectations, where he argued that true saving faith is evident in the changed affections of the professor. True religion, in great part, consists in holy affections, wrote Edwards. If the great things of religion are rightly understood, they will affect the heart. Indeed, they will bring about new desires that will cause us to love the right things, which result in real pleasure. Or put another way, only when you're holy are you truly happy. Who'da thunk it? I think technically, Mike, I think you didn't win.
I was just about to say that.
No, I didn't.
Surprisingly, though, because at the beginning of the article, I would have totally thought the same thing.
Yeah, well, and maybe it might be an indictment on me, honestly. Like, I was just considering the fact that, like, when I changed jobs, I got a raise, and I hated it. I didn't want it.
The raise or the job?
The raise.
Got it.
Yeah, the raise, because money's never been a problem for me because I've never had it. And so
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me any. I'm not a slave to it. It doesn't own me at all.
Yeah.
And then, like, when it got to a certain point, like, I'd taken a job and I'm like, this feels like real money category here. Like, I'm going to have to, what am
Yeah.
I going to do? I don't want this.
Right.
In fact, I offended a bunch of people at my workplace because everybody was throwing in on a lottery pool. And as a curmudgeon-y dude, I'm like, I don't have any problem with the gambling aspect of it. I don't want to win. Like, I literally don't want that amount of money. Like, it's a scary principle to me. I'm like, it'll ruin me. I'll make a bunch of stupid decisions. Like, I will sin with that money. I just don't want it. I don't want it in here. So there's like a certain level of income that, like, even if my job offered like a bonus or something, it puts a pit in my stomach. I don't want that bonus. I don't want your money. I don't want any more money than I have because it scares me to be responsible for it. And here's the thing. Jesus goes, yeah, that's exactly why we're giving you the money.
I was just about to say, that's the right person.
But like, in the turn, like, the article's a little bit right, is you can still, like, you don't have to live this curmudgeon-y terrible life to prove to God that you love him. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what he's asking for. He's asking for right things at right times with the right heart. And, like, that'll also stuff will work itself out.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes you might end up being a little bit blind to what that actually means, which is why you create a community around you, and put people around you that will step in and go, 2 boats? I don't know, Mike. 2 boats seems a little enough.
Right.
You should be on a boat share.
But
You better give one of the boats away.
you know what's interesting about that, though? Like, if you were to ask, 100 Christians who are, like, faithfully trying to follow Jesus, I bet 70 would go, in the back of my mind, I worry that he's going to send me to go live in Tangiers.
Yeah.
Right? And then, but think about what we just talked about. The whole expanse of the discussion. Like, if that's where happiness is in Tangiers, why don't you want to go?
Right.
Like, there's still some semblance of, I wonder if he's going to make me give up my second vehicle. Well, like, wouldn't that be better? Like, if you knew that God wanted you to give it up, like, wouldn't you love to do it? Because God obviously thinks there's something good in it.
Yeah.
And if we said one of the significant risks in our society, and like this is where I've often said that America. Our basic level of wealth creates a blindness in us. We didn't ask for it. We're not trying for it. We just have it because money does that. Like, having things causes a blindness because you forget what it's like to need. You don't really have a good sense for what it's like to lean on God and to trust Him. Your concepts are vague in your mind because you're like, I do. I trust in God every day. And then you buy all your own groceries. You keep the lights on. The city pumps your water in. Like, you just don't have a physical way to show that. So you have a little distance from it. So you don't see it the same way someone else who's praying in Tangiers may see it.
Yeah, you don't know daily bread.
Yes, you're right, exactly. And like, you shouldn't be ashamed of that. But again, you got to know where your risks are. And your risks are blindness in this area. But like, as opposed to, I'm worried that God will disrupt the things that I think are valuable in my life, which are mostly focused on ourselves. Although my biggest risk, the thing that keeps me like where I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if God's going to have us go do something. Is I don't want to leave my church family. Like that's the thing that matters to me. Everywhere else, like I could probably care less. But like in general, that's the concern. That is that they're mostly self-focused types of things. But if those are our poison, then I probably should switch my prayers and go, Father, if there's any way that I should give this car away,
Oh yeah.
could you find me a guy? Because I think I'd like to do that. I'd like to take anything that feels like it's serving me, and I want all the happy I can get. And so, what can I trade for the happy? Can I trade this car? I'll do it. Can I trade this extra room in my house? Can I trade like some of my salary? Whatever it is, like I want to buy the happy in the kingdom with all the stuff that seems to be flowing my way based upon where I live.
But also, like, without a prosperity attached to it, like, if it's time for you to buy a vehicle, buy one.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
One that you can afford
Yeah.
and that is reasonable, but is not like a holy clunker. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go put your wife and your kids in it, buy a decent vehicle.
Yeah.
You know, like, you don't have to be ashamed that God has blessed you in a way to live in the society you live in. You don't live in Tangier, right? And so, like, we're not talking about arguing over bison here. And so, like, can you live in Iowa, or, at least we do, where it gets to be -20 and 120, depending on the season, and the car's got to start and run and get through 6, 8, 10 inches of snow, if not feet, and it also has to be able to sit out in the hot. And so, like, does it make sense if God has blessed you with a job and you have taken responsibility in your community for yourself, for your family, that you spend some of the money that has been provided to buy a decent vehicle? Yes, that is.
Yeah.
Yes, you don't need to like sit around and fret that this is horrible.
Yeah.
Like just buy the thing that runs and that serves your purposes. That's fine.
All right. You're listening live from the path. By the way, I did validate. It does not appear that any bison live in Tangier.
Unfortunately,
I don't think that's.
it's the
That's
blessing
why
of the
there's such a
Midwest.
fight over it. If you find one, you know.
Tangier is North Africa, isn't it?
I think it's Morocco.
Is it the capital of Morocco?
That sounds right.
That sounds right too. Yeah.
You
So
want-
North Africa.
You want me to do this thing real quick before you do the game?
Your Pope style advice?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not going to be a long one, but it's just something to think about, and it's something that has been weighing on me a little bit, and it's in Hosea 13, and it's Hosea 13, 5 and 6, and this is God talking, and He says, "It was I who knew you in the wilderness, in the land of drought, but when they had grazed, they became full, they were filled, and their heart was lifted up. Therefore, they forgot about me."
Ah.
And there's probably been 4 or 5 times in my life where I have experienced something where I knew that God was the only resource I had. Like, it wasn't a human problem. It was I need the almighty creator of the universe to get involved. And I remember thinking at the time that like I was seeking him with almost every minute, hour of the day. And like there's just nothing else I could do. Everything else seemed like a waste of time. You know, like I just wanted to pray more. I wanted to talk to him more. I wanted to talk to him about the thing more. I wanted to read the scripture so he would see his words in me and then be validated that his presence was here going to do work. And I'm like, yes. And I remember it's happened every time too. Like a week or so in, I'm like, God, I'm not like this when things aren't bad. I don't seek after. I'm like, what? How do I ask you to change in me whatever makes this situation make me turn my face towards you and seek you with everything I have? But if you were actually to give me what I asked for, it's a high likelihood I would then turn my face away and go back and do whatever I was doing before this happened, you know, or before these situations came up. And I think I was thinking about it this morning because actually I broke my remember last week we were talking about like I was like 2 months where I just wasn't listening to the radio.
No tunes, yeah.
Yeah, I was just praying.
Yeah.
And yesterday I bailed on it. Like on one drive, right? Like the other drives I was still praying, you know. But for some reason, like I got it in me that I'm like, I don't have to do this today, you know. And like I don't think God ain't mad about it, you know. It's not like I'm off the reservation, you know. But I thought this is how it starts, man. Like this is what happens. I went Hosea style. God brought me to a place and set me in a pasture, and I ate, and I became full. And then I forgot how I got there. Mm-hmm. And then I just go back to whatever. And so my Pope-style advice, it's really simple. And it's actually very hard to enact, as far as I can tell from my perspective, when things aren't in the middle of the pile. You know, but the truth is like, God wants your attention. That's what he wants. He wants your heart and he wants your attention. The Pope-style advice is, give it to him voluntarily. Like right now, you know. Don't make him come find you. Because if he has to come find you to get your attention, then you can read most of the Old Testament and ask Israel how that went. You can talk to Mike Foust and he will tell you how that went. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like the times that you actually turn your face to him and say, Lord, I got nowhere else to go. Like you are all of this thing, and I'm sorry for all the times that I ignored you, all the great things that I probably missed out on, all the times I should have heard your voice, and I should have heard you calling, but I was busy drowning you out. And now all I want to hear is your voice, and all I want to hear is your calling, and all I want to know is what you want me to do, or what you're going to do, or what's going on. I just want to know. And if he has to get your attention that way, it didn't change his countenance at all. Like his posture towards you was always one of love and wanting to talk to you, right? But yours had to, and it was rough. And like it's a plague of humanity. You're gonna find yourself here, but I'm just saying that like if you could take any wisdom at all from your past experiences, from mine, from Israel's, right, and go, he wants your heart and your attention, and if you make him come get it. Like it's just unpleasant. It's tearing. It's breaking, right? To get your attention, he almost has to break something. And like I don't know what a life looks like where I give him that same amount of attention when the world isn't on fire. And I sure want to know. I want to know what that's like, you know? I want to know what that's like to seek him and seek his face as fervently as I did or as I do when things are so out of my own control and I actually realize it.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
So the Pope-style advice is, like, he wants your heart and your attention. Give it to him before he has to come take it.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
You've been listening live from the Path. Thank you for hanging out with us this evening. I would say maybe you have a thoughts on the show. Like you've got some concerns about the things that we're saying. Or you delight in them and want to share with the world, please give us some feedback. You can call or text the Live from the Path Bob Eisenhower complaint line, 515-517-0085. That's call or text 515-517-0085. We would love to hear your thoughts, opinions, feedback, or other items. And while you think about that, I want you to think about this.
And now, for America's fastest growing game show, Secular or Solomon?
You, my good friends, or casual acquaintances, or sworn enemies, have wandered into America's fastest-growing internet game show, as Buva says, The Pie. And we're going to play Secular versus Solomon.
That didn't land.
What was the opening theme that was the Solomon Show? What was that for?
That was the Solomon Show was the transition when we moved from the downtown studios to the first studio in Johnston. It was under the premise of the interview on the Solomon Show.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right.
Too long ago to remember.
let me remind you of how the game goes. Buva.
Can I use my Bible?
No.
Okay.
Can I use Mike's Bible?
Yeah.
Good
Yes.
question.
I mean, just ask this specifically.
Yeah, but he can't give it to you. You have to use it from where you're at. So he's got to hold it up. But then to do so, he has to violate his terms of using the Bible.
Crap. Okay. All
So
right,
if you
fine.
can figure out a way around that, I'll let you have it. All right, Secular versus Solomon.
A logical trap.
The question is, where is our wisdom coming from? A lot of times we hear some pithy saying and we say the Lord must have deemed it, but instead it was Ben Franklin, or we read it out of a fortune cookie. And so Secular versus Solomon gives us a chance to examine this wisdom and decide, is this from the Lord or is it from a secular source? And if it's from a secular source, what's the country of origin? Can we fish out where this wisdom is apparently coming from?
And remember, specifically country of origin.
Dan, that's aimed at you.
Yeah, Dan, that really is aimed at you.
I don't know why you would say that out
No,
loud.
I don't know either.
Okay.
I'm having flashbacks.
You're gonna have to give me a little breath because I'm gonna do a thing when it's my turn to answer. I'm ready.
Wait, you're not going to do it yet?
No. Well, okay. I'm gonna give you a heads up.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what I answer. After I answer, I'm gonna go.
I don't like that at all.
That's
Yeah.
like your own theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a musical where every time Mike enters the room, that particular note
You
plays.
don't have to explain what's happening to me.
Yeah.
I just don't like it.
If you
Okay.
played it and I said, Mike's here.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. I'm ready. Just a test run. That is secular.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to hate that in about
That
3
goes
minutes.
down smooth.
Yeah. No.
That goes down smooth.
Every
That's,
one of us. Wrong of us.
This is gonna be great.
that's like vinegar to teeth and smoke to the eyes.
So is the slugger to those who send him.
And olive oil in your coffee. Did anybody try that?
No, you should not be drinking that much fat.
Well, I've heard it gives you
That's
the,
good fats.
I think it gives you the
Good
runs.
fats or not, yes.
That's what I heard.
Your body is not ready for that.
Okay. Dan, are you ever tempted by these coffee drinks?
You
No.
know the Otto?
You're
Not
not,
at all.
you're not a coffee man, but you ever
No.
looked at any of these and go, oh, wow, I might try that?
You don't
No.
go, oh, the chocolate hazelnut butter cookie.
Nope. I've tried like one, and I'm like, nope, it's still coffee.
I still don't care for this. Okay.
Still
I can have
dirty
the chocolate
bean
without
water.
the coffee, but very much even happier. But,
just I'll take a mocha, hold the coffee, and the milk for that
there
matter.
you go.
want hot
Maybe a little
chocolate?
whipped cream.
Can you squeeze Bosco straight into my mouth, please? Okay, here we go. Secular or Solomon, starting with Dan. A drowning man is not troubled by rain. A drowning man is not troubled by rain. Secular or Solomon?
Yeah, that I'm going to say that's drowning man. I'm going to say that is secular. And trying to think of where this could possibly be.
Dan's just trying to think of a country.
Of a country. It's going to be Canada, specifically in the Niagara Falls area.
Okay.
Yeah. Niagara, Canada.
We haven't done this in so long.
Got it.
Dan starts off going, Canada, specifically Niagara Falls.
Does this go big or go home?
Right on the water.
You get the mist off the falls.
Buva, a drowning man is not troubled by rain.
I'm going to go secular Guatemala.
Okay, Mike.
I'm gonna go secular Spain.
Beep. Turn the page.
All right.
You're on page 39. A drowning man is not troubled by rain. That is indeed secular. The answer is Iran.
Yes.
Iran.
That's close to Canada.
So far away.
Okay.
You get the joke, Ben? He said I ran so far away.
Oh, no, I was tickled about it. I wanted to give the audience room to laugh themselves. I didn't want to dominate it.
Why don't we have a laugh track? That would be so handy. We'd use it all the time.
You would.
Yuck.
Okay. Evidence Exhibit A as to why we do not get the privilege of a laugh track.
If you could please call us on the Live from the Path complaint or the Bob Eisenhower complaint line, please record a laugh track for us.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's a great idea.
What just happened over there?
Sorry, I had my finger in the wrong spot.
If you have a unique laugh, or like you think you would have a good laugh track kind of laugh, you should call us on the Bob Eisenhower Live for the Path complaint line.
Yeah.
And then leave us a voicemail that we can use as a laugh track.
I'd be willing to do that. If you guys leave me some good laughs, I will take the audio and I'll use it as a random laugh track here on the show.
But if you identify yourself on that voicemail and you have a bad laugh, we will make fun of you.
I won't do that.
No, I certainly wouldn't.
That's not in the
Fine.
Proverbs.
Dan,
I
would
will
you
do
do
that.
I would not do that.
Oh,
That
I will.
does not
I
sound like a
will
place of happiness.
absolutely make fun
You
of you.
self-centered rube.
Yeah.
I told you about my generation. It's my generation.
Okay, Secular or Solomon Buva. A slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. A slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. Secular or Solomon?
Solomon.
Okay. Mike,
Oh, wait, are we not guessing chapters?
Oh, we have another. Proverbs 12.
you arrogant beast.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew that was coming. Let's play that laugh track.
I'm going to call into the complaint line for sure.
I know you are. I'm waiting for the text message that says to me we got a voicemail.
Yeah, my name is Boova. Okay, I'm going to go with, Solomon. So I'm going to say Proverbs 27.
Dan, slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich.
It is Solomon, Proverbs 19:22.
Oh, the year of our Lord. That's slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. That is Solomon, Proverbs 10:4.
I suppose.
The old good buddy proverb.
Breaker.
The year of our Lord, 1922.
All right, Secular or Solomon. Mike, whoever works in integrity works securely, but he who makes his ways crooked will be found out.
Oh, yeah. That's Solomon for sure. I'm going to say Proverbs 18.
Dan, Secular or Solomon?
Solomon, chapter 16.
Solomon chapter 16?
I mean, Proverbs. Solomon, Proverbs chapter 16.
I'll take the whole
Solomon
chapter.
book 4.
It's going to be good.
Volume 7.
I knew what I meant.
I'm going to go Solomon Proverbs 7.
Oh man, we're out of touch with the game. We
Yeah.
don't know how to do it right.
Solomon 11.
Let's see. Whoever works in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his ways crooked will be found out. The answer is Solomon, Proverbs 10:9. Now, I want you to notice a pattern here, boys. Think about this.
I'm seeing.
I get to the show late. I say, got to put a Secular Solomon together. I start making my way likely sequentially through the Proverbs.
So next one will be Proverbs 11.
It's something to think about. All right, Secular or Solomon. Back to Dan. A monkey.
What? What? A monkey?
Solomon had the monkeys come in on ships.
Okay.
Queen of
Ecclesiastes
Sheba
2.
brought the monkeys with her.
Totally secular. I can't even do it right. Secular Solomon, slipper ground does not recognize a king.
Slipper ground?
Slippery.
Wow.
Slippery ground. You said slipper ground.
No, that's what I wrote. I'm pretty sure the word is
Slipper
slippery.
ground.
It has to be slippery. Yeah. Oh, so does not recognize a king. Yes, you're correct. Denmark. That is secular.
Secular Denmark.
Slippery ground doesn't recognize a king.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It doesn't care whether a king walks on it or whether it's a peasant.
Everybody
You gonna
falls on the
slip.
ice.
It's personification of the ground.
Yeah.
I'm going to go secular Canada, specifically Quebec.
That tickled Dan.
Dan's like, he's got the same humor as me.
I was hanging out in the Niagara Falls there for a minute.
All right, Secular or Solomon, Mike.
I'm going to go secular, I think, and Germany.
Slippery ground does not recognize a king. The answer is secular Kenya.
Kenya.
That was very close.
They don't have any slippery ground in Kenya. What are they talking about?
Except in the rainy season.
Except for the really, really bad rainy season.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
And it's pretty slippery.
that
but
whole thing.
All
they
right.
could-
recognize a king, I'll tell you that much.
They could, but I really drought it.
Don't play it.
Secular or Solomon, Buva. With his mouth, the godless man would destroy his neighbor, but by knowledge, the righteous are delivered.
Solomon, Proverbs 12.
Mike?
Solomon, Proverbs 11:2.
Dan?
Solomon, Proverbs 12:0. 16.
Ooh. With his mouth, the godless man would destroy his neighbor.
What a great guess, Dan. Ooh.
Saucy.
Oh, boy. Can I get a Proverbs 12?
It was the most non-Canada answer I'd heard yet from Dan. All right. With his mouth, the godless man would destroy his neighbor, but by knowledge, the righteous are delivered. It is Solomon, Proverbs 11:9.
Dang it.
Oh,
I skipped too far ahead. I didn't think you'd go chapter to chapter.
too big of a leap.
Thank you.
Two big leaps. Dua leapus. Secular or Solomon Mike. A monkey never thinks her baby's ugly.
Where you go with that already?
A monkey. I got.
I moved on from it. Came back. The room had to die
A
down.
monkey never thinks its baby's ugly.
Right.
That is going to be secular and Brazil.
Dan, a monkey never thinks her baby's ugly.
Yes, that's secular. We're going to go Mozambique.
Mozambique. How exotic. Buva, hit us with your guess.
Secular India.
How lame. How very mainstream.
How mainstream? What does that even mean?
How
that's-
gauche and predictable.
That's mid.
Gauche. That's what I
I
wanted.
was going to say.
That's what, how gauche and
word's
predictable.
gauche.
You're a gauche simpleton.
It's macabre.
Secular or Solomon, a monkey never thinks her baby is ugly. Secular Haiti. Secular Haiti.
Yeah.
Dan, were you questioning whether that was a country?
No, I was trying to think. Do they have monkeys in Haiti? I guess I haven't been to Haiti, but
It's been a problem.
That would be odd that you would consider yourself the expert to answer that question.
I've never once seen a monkey in Haiti.
Probably part of the government. There's a whole bay of pigs down there.
That's Cuba.
It's close to Haiti.
It's still a different country.
We're not,
It's Cuba. Very famously Cuba.
It's a bay full of pigs.
You know
Everybody-
JFK when he dealt with Haiti and the Bay of Pigs?
I found that phrase so confusing when I was a younger man.
Bay of Pigs?
Yes. I'm like, what a sight. Where did they come from? I thought the Russians had brought like a bunch of pigs in, and I'm like,
why don't they
what
let
a
them free?
statement.
These pigs have been eating nothing but raw
I just kept thinking
uranium,
of
excuse me.
JFK at his big presidential desk going, what are we going to do about this?
What are we going to do about these pigs? These pigs have missiles on them. It's crazy.
we can't get our boats past the swine. Actually, it was funny.
It's a porkade.
I think, and I said this out loud one time, I think to no reaction in the room, but like when Jesus cast the demons outside, he created a bay of pigs. They ran.
Yeah.
So,
Jesus made the first Bay of
yeah,
Pigs.
he was
Yes,
the
yes.
originator. All right, secular or Solomon. Mike, whoever despises his neighbor is a sinner, but blessed is he who is generous to the poor.
Proverbs 11:2.
It's the exact one you said last time.
I was wrong last time.
That's true.
11-9.
He was ahead of the times.
He's got a slightly better chance of getting it right this time because he at least knows which one is not Proverbs 11:2, and that was the last one.
Valid
Price is Right rules. I'm under.
Dan.
That would be Solomon, Proverbs 12:1.
Ooh, Dan says 12:1. Buva.
Solomon, Proverbs 12.
Are you going to be like this the whole time?
What, me? Yeah. And for about 13 years now.
Okay. Whoever despises
Don't
his
look at
neighbor is a sinner, but blessed is he who is generous to the poor. Solomon, Proverbs 14:21.
It's taking a skip and a jump.
I had the one.
14:21. Here's what I'm going to tell you. I may have collected them in order, but I don't have to read them in order.
Oh, you led us astray.
You suckers.
Yeah. You're like that grandma that dresses like a wolf.
Second.
You're like that grandma that dresses like a wolf.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mean the wolf that dresses like a grandma?
Yeah. I don't know what story you read, but Ben is acting like the other one. I like wolves. Grandmas I find untrustworthy.
It's a little boy who cried, Grandma.
Little Red Riding Hood is hanging out with a wolf, and it turns out to be a grandma. What an interesting story.
Little pig, let me come in. That's the grandma doing it, Buva, instead of a
Why are
wolf.
we confusing stories?
Well, because the wolf.
Now we're at the Three Little Pigs?
Yeah, because if the wolf was the grandma is the wolf, and so she did the wolf bit in the Three Little Pigs. Keep up with the times.
Except for the pigs were in a bay.
Yeah, yeah.
Laugh track.
Secular Solomon, Mike. Hunger is the best sauce?
I was the first last time.
Third 3 times now.
Dan, hunger is the best sauce. Secular or Solomon?
That is Solomon Cactus Bob's.
What?
And there it was.
America.
Secular Epcot Center.
America.
The American South.
Okay. I'm not going to accept Cactus Bob. I'm going to swap that out for Newfoundland.
Newfoundland?
Golden Corral.
Yeah,
Are you
Newfoundland.
trying to say Newfoundland?
Newfoundland? Yeah. Just because I didn't accent the right piece.
No, you made it sound like there's a place named after Finland that's new, and it's Newfoundland.
It's not my problem that it's pronounced the same. You're just not from there, Louisville. You're not saying it right.
Louisville. Y'all been down to Nolans?
Okay, but Booba, stay on the tracks.
What was that? What in tarnation, Booba? You better stay on tracks. We're all broken. We're all broken.
What is happening here?
I'm going to go secular, and I'm going to go Jamaica.
I'm definitely calling the complaint line for sure. For sure. All right, Mike.
Rabble.
I'm going secular and the original Finland.
Old Finland.
All right, hunger is the best sauce. That is indeed secular Rome.
Wow.
They
Rome.
didn't have sauce in Rome.
Sauce there.
Or Romesco, though. That's the thing. Gross. I hope that gets edited out somehow.
I don't
You
edit the
just
show.
almost ate your mic like a camel.
That's what a yawn sounds like. Secular or Solomon. Buva, the bear and the bear hunter have different opinions. The bear and the bear hunter have different opinions. Secular or Solomon.
I'm going to go secular, and I'm going to say Russia.
You would.
I mean, I wasn't going to guess that. But just to show you what's what, I'm going to go into secular, and I'm going Ukraine.
Oh, contested regions. Dan Hudson. The bear and the bear hunter have different opinions.
Yeah.
Secular Cabela's.
That's a secular. And it's got to be Yugoslavia.
Yugoslavia. All of us are Eastern Europe.
Now, I'm with Dan on that. I feel good about that guess, actually.
Yeah.
The bear and the bear hunter have different opinions. Secular Norway. Norway.
Right
That's
there.
really close
Yeah.
to what I said.
All right.
No.
Let's see here. Dan,
What you got? One more?
Yeah. Mike, here we go. Tie us off here. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down, but a good word makes him glad. Secular Solomon.
I'm going to go Solomon, and I'm going to say that's Proverbs chapter 18.
Oh.
So glad for that to be done.
This game's like another 10 minutes with the two.
Right.
It's a good word. Makes people happy.
Dan Hudson.
That is a Solomon writing from the book of Proverbs, chapter 17 and verse 13.
Sweet Moses. All right.
Followed by a period.
Colon.
An Oxford comma.
In the time of Asaph. I'm going to go Solomon, Proverbs 16, verse 12.
Anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down, but a good word makes him glad. The answer is Solomon, Proverbs 12:25.
Yes. Thank you.
I didn't like it the
And
first time.
that was you just having gone through America's fastest growing internet game show, Asterix Unproven, and as Booba would call it, the French silk of the pie world.
I mean, that's
that
my
was
favorite pie.
Secular versus Solomon. You can find more Secular versus Solomon by going to livefromthepath.org, searching Secular versus Solomon, and various clips and shenanigans will show up in there, and you can watch, take your shot and see how good you are at biblical wisdom or guessing random geography. Either way, what a skill. I would lead for it on your, what's a non-skeezy Tinder type profile?
Whoa.
FarmersOnly.com.
Christian dating. Christian mingle.
Yeah, that's not skeezy at all.
It's really the
Let's
worst.
go with Farmers Only. That's where you should go. FarmersOnly.com.
Just something about you telling me to go to Farmers Only
You
is just
should go. You
wrong.
should go right now.
By the way, if you listen to those shows from the past, none of them will feature Mike doing that guitar bit. That's new to this episode.
I mean, we had to try something out.
yeah,
the show's getting
did,
old.
Did we? I don't know.
Before I get a copyright hit for that.
Oh yeah, sure.
Hey, would you say that we've gained viewers year over year?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah,
Well, then we don't need to change up nothing.
yeah. That's true. Yeah, you got to stick.
Riveting conversation there,
I
Mike.
was just thinking about that.
Hey Ben, how great are we?
Well, I'm just thinking.
Oh, I don't know if we're great.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying if like the rando ideas about playing guitar theme music were going to tank the show, then I would feel bad. But so far, it looks like every decision we've ever made is solid gold.
Yeah,
I mean, we've got a pretty long sample size, so
Yeah, we're like a stock market that never goes down.
yeah. It's like pollution, really. It's been a steady incline for years,
Yeah.
and so that's us. We're the same as pollution.
You ready for this thing?
No, Boova's got a story about his effluvium.
Oh yeah.
What? Stop saying that. I don't know what that means.
Okay, you tell the story, and then we'll see whether it pans out or not.
It's not even really a story. It's a question.
Okay, let's question.
It's a question from Boova.
Speak it.
If there's an item on sale at a store,
Yep.
and you like to take advantage of said item, like more than the average person, are you a schmuck for doing that? Like if something's on sale for $1 and you buy like 4 or 5, 6 of them, stocking up, is that a big deal? Like, are you a jerk?
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on the item.
What item would you be a jerk, and what item would you
Wait a
not
minute.
be a jerk?
Hold on. If it's an on sale item, just make sure I got the premise right.
Yep.
It's on sale. It's a really good bargain.
Yeah, great bargain.
So you
No
buy a
limit.
lot.
You buy a lot.
Yeah, and is that offensive?
Yeah.
No.
Is it a schmuck move to the people around you?
Is there anybody waiting to do one? To have one?
I don't know about waiting, but they're conscious that you've taken more than most would.
Yeah, but did they want any?
I mean, they're trying to get rid of them. They're on sale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Take all
know-
you want.
Do you owe any moral obligation to the people at the place you're frequenting?
Okay. Let's think about it this way.
Yeah.
Let's say that they were giving away Xboxes, and they were on deep discount. Instead of being whatever they cost, they were $10 an Xbox.
Yeah.
Do I think you're a jerk for buying 5 of them when you can legitimately only play one Xbox at a time? Yes. And there's people that would also benefit from the amazingly priced Xbox around you. Yes, I would consider you to be a jerk.
So in a doorbuster situation, you're a schmuck.
Yeah, but okay. What if the same thing were true for a Clark bar? It's a consumable.
Then not as big
yeah.
of a deal.
Okay, yeah. Then you could do it.
Yeah.
5 Clark bars.
Okay. Now
Okay.
let's complicate this.
Okay.
What if you took more Clark bars than most people would have, and people can't get Clark bars because of the amount of Clark bars you just took?
Like anywhere?
No, like it. Yes, I am Veruca Salt, and my father has just purchased 11 factories worth of Clark bars, and I am a spoiled, rotten brat. No, just in the immediate vicinity of the stores that
First
you're
come,
in.
first serve. Do what you want.
Yeah, I don't think this is a problem. I mean, if someone was waiting, if someone was like hanging up behind me saying, "Wow, it's a good deal in Clark bars," I might go, "Hey, man, I was gonna get some. You want any of these?"
Yes, that's fair.
Yeah.
But there's no conversation. There's just stares.
Let me ask you this question: is it enough that may have required a basket?
Not if you have big hands.
Yeah.
So you could fit this number of Clark bars or other items with like 15.
You have no idea how many Clark bars I can hold
Okay,
at a time.
let me ask you this question: what were you buying and how many?
It was hot dogs.
And how many?
They're on sale for $1.
At Costco.
No, at the Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh.
There are other reasons not to
Now,
do
hold
that.
on. You cleaned out the roller dogs.
I didn't clean them out.
It takes them another 15 minutes to cook more dogs.
I know. That's why I was asking if
What
there's
time
a
was it?
threshold.
What time?
It was like 2.
No,
Ah,
that's
The
past
lunch,
prime time.
the lunch
Yeah.
rush has happened.
That's
it was
over.
I took 4. I didn't eat 4 hot dogs in a row. I ate 2, and I was driving around listening to an audiobook knowing I was going to eat in a couple hours, and I already had the 2 $1 hot dogs.
You ate a two-hour-old hot dog? That's gross.
Mike, I need you to
spend some
realize
time
that
in
They're
the
bad
restroom
enough
later?
fresh off the
that's
roller.
not even the worst thing I ate that day. So like I don't know I don't know what you're looking for here. It definitely wasn't the worst I've done.
I have never gotten a future hot dog in my whole life. I've never.
That definitely puts it in perspective.
I've never.
Like, I very easily could have just went back to another Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh a couple hours later and bought 2 more. I just figured I'm already in here. I'm stocking up on drinks and dogs.
I'll see you in a few, good buddy.
Never. Hot dog is not a future item. It has a shelf life of 15 minutes after you bought it, and then it needs to go.
Here's the deal. If you're the kind of fella, me, that's willing to eat the dogs at any time, why does it really even matter if it's been a couple hours? It's still gas station roller hot dogs.
At least you're keeping
It's not like
up-
we're not talking about filet mignon that I left in my seat.
But you're keeping up the charade, I guess, that you got a meal hot off the warmer, and then something that we normally serve warm, you took and put in your car for 2 hours and ate.
No.
Untreated.
There's no charade. I know what I've done. I knew what I was doing when I did it, and I knew what I did when it was done.
Remember when I said that God is calling you to better, and you're settling for the best that you can offer?
$1 hot dogs
The
is
best
a sweet
you can
deal.
offer is a 2-hour-old hot dog in your
Beef
passenger
Franks
seat.
are living, okay? You're missing out, fellas. Beef Franks are living, and I don't even put any condiments on them.
Yeah, I'm with the rabble. You're wrong.
All right, fine.
You did wrong thing.
I don't know. I got to look is why I'm asking about this.
Okay, I don't think they were looking at you, to be fair, because
You don't know my life.
they were dollar hot dogs, and you took 4 because they were a bargain. They looked at you because you are of a man of your physical appearance walking away with 4 hot dogs, and they went, oh.
Oh,
It's true.
he's going to eat all those.
It's a valid point. But I've been
I
stared
wonder what
at.
he'll do for supper.
He's certainly not saving those for future use.
It's 2:00. Is that his mid-afternoon snack? Dang it! I didn't think about it like that.
He just ate a child in the parking lot.
Did you see that guy walk in here saying "fee fi fo fum"? That was crazy.
He washed it down with a gas pump. What a
Super unlimited.
E85.
Yeah.
what a monkey.
What a monkey situation. 85 reasons to be drinking this. Oh man. Okay,
Yeah.
that's probably a valid point.
Yeah.
I've definitely done worse. Like, I'm not proud of that, Mike.
Who has a future on? I just never even thought, hey man, I'll eat this hot dog later.
I just
Like,
thought to myself, I'm gonna be hungry in a few hours. I might as well just get the dogs now.
I don't want to be in the straits.
Yeah, it is a
What if
poverty
it's a dire
move.
situation? What if they run out at the other Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh? I appreciate this caricature of a man that you created me to be.
You're literally driving around listening to an audiobook. You can stop anywhere, and instead you doomsday prep on hot dogs.
Okay.
You're
I
worth
can
more
see-
than this, Booba.
I can see the folly of my ways. I can see where you're coming from, that future hot dogs maybe isn't a great deal.
That'd be a hard no. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, apparently I have no standards in what I eat, and I'm perfectly fine, like, future prepping with some hot dogs about, like, what am I going to do in 2 hours? What if they're out?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you something. I've bought a hot dog from a roller before, put ketchup and mustard on it, put it in my car, forgot about it for 10, 15 minutes, and then looked over at it and thought, no, this is too far gone.
It staged out of the farm system.
Yeah, you
When
pretty much open the package on the way to the car and start eating that
Here's
hot
the
dog.
deal. When I write my memoirs called Table for One, Please, I'm going to give you the advanced copies so you can read them and see how low you can get when it comes to gas station hot dogs.
Chapter 14, future hot dog.
I have gone to a gas station at the end of watch, if you will, when all the roller dogs are about to be retired or dropped into the trash, and asked while they were being collected to be put into said trash, "Hey man, can I just get those?" And I have then taken those home, put them in Ziploc bags, and then eaten them throughout the week. I've also done that where I got like 15 of them, and I chopped them up and put them into mac and cheese when I got home.
That's delicious. That's just thrifty.
Right.
None of that.
Oh, so
costs
that's
us a lot.
thrifty, but future dogs is a problem. Got it.
Future dogs is
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's what I got.
Yeah, prudence and poverty are 2 different things. And
I've been in both.
I walked that line, friend.
Because
Wait,
you're
now,
mine.
I thought this story that before the show started, you said the story was about a guy sniffing you.
No, I said I wasn't. Oh gosh, I said I wasn't going to say that because I didn't trust any of you, and I don't trust Dan to be able to hear a story like that and not say something that's going to get us canceled.
I don't know what you mean by that.
I don't. That's the surprising part.
Dan's like, you just try me.
Dan's like, I'm a sensible fella. I'm a sensible fella that can take that kind of story in the world. Yeah, I was at the same gas station actually. I frequent this place. Okay?
Cologne.
And I went up, and I think I might have been buying Future Dogs, if I'm being real honest about it. This is a common enough occurrence that it's happened in 2 stories in one night. I was at this same place buying Future Dogs and a sparkling water, and from across the counter, the man said, "You smell nice. What's that cologne?" And I was like, we could have just gone on without this happening at all. Like, we didn't have to talk about this at all. And I went, I think it's not a cologne. It's like Bath and Body Works or something. He goes, "Oh, which scent?" And I'm like, we don't need to continue this. But I went, "It's bourbon." And he goes, "I like bourbon. I use Ocean." And I'm like, oh, this is a whole conversation we're having now to where we're comparing scents. I'm like, yeah, I know Ocean. It's a good scent. And he goes, "Maybe I should switch to the bourbon, though." Oh. And I'm like, I don't know if we need to continue this conversation at
Here,
all.
I have some with me.
And he just, right, like I'll give him a free sample. Like, "Here, buddy, you want to smell like me? Here you go." No, it was terrifying. I felt like I was an Old Spice commercial, and I hated it. And I was like, I've never in my life been the guy. I'm the guy that people stare at getting 4 hot dogs that they're like, "Oh, I wonder what dinner looks like." I'm not the guy that's like, "Ooh, sweet deliciousness. What are you exuding, sir?"
I'd like to have you home for dinner.
Right. Oh, thanks, Dan.
Yep.
Here we go.
Yep.
Here we go.
And Boobo was right.
Took about 45 seconds. We're in. Danimal the animal. I love it.
Ed goes, "I would never do." I guess I did.
I guess I did. I don't know what you're talking about. I'd like to take
Don't
you
do that
home,
next
son.
time.
Yeah. So that in the same week, I did Future Hot Dogs and Smelled by a Man.
I don't think I would ever do that. would never want to give another man an impression that I wanted to dress like him, smell like him.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Where do you shop? Never would ask somebody that.
Yeah.
What kind of deal?
True.
What kind of shampoo you use? I wouldn't ask any of these.
Yeah,
questions.
I would pay good money to watch you do that though.
Oh, I wouldn't.
Like I would
That
watch
would
a
be
TV
good.
show
That'd
that
be
was
worth
just
it.
you walking up to other fellas and going, "Was that bergamot?"
That
And
is
the guy's
delightful.
like, "What? No, that is delightful. What you're wearing today, sir. That is incredible. Is that Chanel number 9?
You're like sunshine to
oil?
the nose.
Oh, you daisy of a man."
My wife though has at least twice tried to get me to go ask another man where he bought his pants. She's like, and then I'm in a weird spot because it's either I do it or she's gonna do it. I'm like, I don't want you talking about his pants either because I could just see her going up and asking this guy, "Hey, where'd you get those pants?" Because obviously she's asking because she thinks they're looking like a nice pair of pants.
Yeah.
And this guy gonna feel real righteous about himself. Like his 2 cheeks are putting on a program back there.
cheeks
in
are putting on a
this-
program.
in this denim. And so then I got to go do it. I'm like, I'm not doing it because that feels real. Hey, I noticed your pants, sir. I was looking at your legs, and I want my legs to look like your legs.
Okay. Not to keep us postponed here, but like there's a situation in which I feel like I've thought to go up and talk to a man. And it's because big guys just do not know how to dress most of the time. And like,
Well, they're not given much choice.
well, here's the deal. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I dress nicely, but like, I also don't look like I'm trying to play Magic the Gathering at all times. And so, like, there's some fellas that I'm like, you chose that hairstyle. Like, you are a balding, very overweight man that is wearing a t-shirt that's down to your knees with flip-flops and gym shorts, and you have a balding ponytail. You have chosen all of these things today when you very easily could have just worn a shirt that fit better, gotten some pants that weren't weird looking, put on legitimate shoes because nobody wants to see a big man's gross feet. Yeah. I wear shoes for that reason, right? Like I wear well-fitting clothes most of the time. And like sometimes I just want to walk up to guys and be like, "Hey man, I get it. Like I'm a big guy too.
I've been where you're at.
I'm actually much bigger than you are. Like you're actually
I have
tiny
that same
compared
shirt.
to me." Right? Yeah. I'm like, what is wrong with you? What are you doing?
wear it to bed.
Like you've chosen this, and like if you smell bad, if you legitimately are in a situation where like you can't afford the toiletries, all the different stuff, like I understand there are extenuating circumstances, but most of the time it's like, "Hey buddy, like we know how many Cheetos got you to where you are, so like we should talk about how many showers it would take to get you out of it, and like maybe it's 2 a day." Maybe it's 3 a day during lunchtime, depending on the situation. Like if you had a particularly rough morning.
Is it Kung Pao Chicken Day?
Right, yeah, exactly. Right. Like, you know I can see the food on your face. Why can't you? And, like, I'm not trying to make fun of bigger dudes. Obviously, I'm a big guy and have been my whole life. But, like, there's there's choices that can be made on top of it that go like, I can still be somewhat presentable to society, and like I don't have to look like a Simpsons character. Like you can make better choices. I'm sorry, don't cancel me because I got on big guys, but I'm just saying.
I've only ever asked anybody these questions in the negative. Like, are you out of deodorant?
You just assume.
Or do you need to borrow money for pants? Like, always on the negative, and if I'm giving, like, somebody a hard time because they stink.
Right.
Like, I would never say, you smell nice, but I would definitely say, you smell like a shoe sole. You know,
Right.
like, what happened?
You smell like aftershave.
Is there a good reason why you're gross right now? And if you need help rectifying it.
Maybe you and I should just go out into the world and have these kind of conversations. Is there a good
Hang out by the
reason
hot dog
you're
roller.
gross right
Yeah.
now? Yes, that's what we're going to do. That's my mission now. I'm going to hang out by the hot dog aquarium, and then I'm going to help out all these guys.
Ooh, look at those that aren't ready yet.
Like,
There's like we're going to move the sign in 5 minutes. Oh, we got to wait. We got to wait and watch that. They're going to move that little cone.
still cooking? Not on my watch. Oh, no.
Okay, you ready?
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh,
let's do it. Let's do it.
Dear Live from the Path, I am a mature, divorced woman living with my boyfriend for the past 2 years.
Time out. Never mind. Go ahead.
We have a good life in general. We live in a nice home in a great community. My problem is he isn't capable of showing as much attention as I need. I grew up in a family in which affection was not demonstrated physically or verbally. Oh, he grew up in a family in which affection was not demonstrated physically or verbally. He claims he is the same way, but will, quotes, work on it. His temporary efforts are nice, but they don't last long, and things return to, quotes, business as usual. Our sex life works in a mechanical kind of way, but there is no, quotes, lovemaking as part of it.
Oh my.
How do I maintain being understanding toward the situation? Should we part ways because my needs aren't being met? He's a good man, and the lack of affection is the only thing missing.
What's your bellwether for good man? Yeah. Like he doesn't hit you and isn't as bad as your ex-husband?
I'm going to tell you what this smells like.
Bergamot.
This smells like bergamot and a roller dog.
Patchouli.
This sounds like a middle-aged dude complaining that about his sex life because he's been watching a bunch of porn.
This is a woman.
Listen, in the same breath,
Or was.
it sounds like a woman who's been reading a bunch of novels
Okay.
and books and idealized like what a man is supposed to going to be able to do. And then this dude who like ticks all the boxes. He's a great friend of yours. He's supportive, and he's just not like wildly passionate. I'm just wanting to make sure that you're giving this dude a fair swing, right? Like obviously,
I think she's giving him plenty. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
What-
Dan
Dan says
says.
premarital affairs out.
Yep.
oh yeah, that is.
I mean, I think we would all go with that, yes.
yeah,
But
obviously, we're not foundationally on the same page.
No.
Yeah, he's not hunting because she's giving him nothing to hunt for.
are you giving us the classic why buy the cow when the milk's free?
I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
Well, but hold on. Her critique is not. Her critique is that his actions in that department are robotic.
Well, her critique is that he's not showing her affection. Like she said that his family, he did not grow up being physically or emotionally affectionate. He attempts to do so and works on it, but it doesn't last very long.
Yeah,
and so like he's recognized and acknowledged that she needs this to the extent that he was willing to do it for a short period of time. Yeah. And then through circumstances, whether he attempted and it wasn't like reciprocated at all and or appreciated at all, whatever, could be plenty of things that she didn't do in the times that he was trying. But there's also a possibility that like he cared enough in that moment and then it did not last long enough because he doesn't care enough in the relationship.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, if
Like
I'm
both could be wrong.
if I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to like. Well, one, Dan's not wrong. Like they should. I wouldn't consider this a mature relationship. I get it. As you are older, you've moved into what the final thing should look like without taking the necessary middle steps.
Yep, right.
I would say like that thing can be worked on, right? Like there's. I don't know, without going into too much detail, like there's ways for this to continue to be like change.
Yeah.
For the man to learn, for things to get better. But they need to be done within a safe, committed relationship. And to the extent that you guys are lodging together, but you're not married, you've not created the situation where ultimate safety exists.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what the premise of that is. If it's because you're carrying around hurt from past relationship, then you need to deal with that before you start critiquing the current relationship you're in, because I would suspect that it's sneaking in a bit. But yeah, I would say first get yourselves married, and so like everybody feels real safe and comfortable. And then you need to help him along. It's not crazy that two people within a relationship have different needs in multiple different areas, levels of attention, like whatever. And it is a long-term dance of compromise to try to get people who don't agree on levels of things to get into the same spot.
Right.
Oftentimes, it's actually coming from the other direction. A man wants more attention, more time, more frequency of things like that, and it takes 20 years to otherwise make that come to where they want it to, and then all of a sudden, the dude starts to wane and the lady's in. Like, it's just kind of a biological thing that's around it, and so it's a compromise dance, and I think it can be worked through if that's the core thing. If he recognizes that he's willing to work on it, but he's not very good at it, that's a way different situation than like
Agreed.
he wants out or he thinks you're being unreasonable or whatever. But I would strongly advocate that the safety of that relationship and the commitment of it allows those things to be done without the kind of this constant looming of, do I stay with him, or do I make requests that like might offend them, that they might want to cut it off or whatever. Like that's where I think you got to build in the ultimate buffer and then go to town and work on getting it figured out.
Secular says, the question was, should I leave? Like, should we part ways because my needs aren't being met? He's a good man, and the lack of affection is the only thing missing. Secular says, try this. Fill your boyfriend to the brim with love and affection, and what spills over may come back to you. Communication is key. Tell him you love him often and be physically demonstrative. If you need affection, ask for it. The kind of spontaneous demonstration of affection you crave were never patterned for him during his formative years, so he will have to be taught everything. Please try it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I do think maybe just in general, ladies, there's all kinds of things that you want your fella to do in all different parts of your marriage, and you consider it a failure of his that you had to mention it. But just think about it. Like, you're two different people. The thing that is on your mind may not be the thing that is on his mind, and so it is not a failure to mention it. It is the thing that actually makes it so it can happen. It'll take a while. I'll give you a good example. This happened I don't know, a few months ago. We have two windows in our bedroom, and apparently, I say apparently, for as long as we've lived in my house, when my wife comes up and goes to bed, she shuts the curtain on one of the windows. There's one that faces the neighbor. They got a barn, and there's a big light there. I can't tell you I've noticed. I knew the light was there, but I couldn't tell you that she shuts it, like, or how it gets shut. Somebody maintenances this curtain, but I never thought about it. And she brought it up a few months ago. She goes, you were up here. I usually get into bed before her. And she's like, every night I come in here and I got to shut this curtain. I said, oh, I didn't even know that was something we were after. We want this curtain shut every night? She goes, yeah. I'm like, no problem. And I'm nailing it. Like, every night, just walk in and shut the curtain, right? I can totally do this. It just did not occur to me. If I got to bed and I looked up and the curtain was shut, I'd just have been like, or open still. I'm like, that's probably gonna be fine. I'm gonna sleep. What do I care?
Right.
It's just, but once she said something, and what she wanted was for me to just come upstairs and just do it. That would have been her ideal situation. I literally had not thought about it at all, and so it's an innocuous example, but like, before you think of your man as inattentive or failing or not being conscious of your needs, like, he's gonna need to hear about them way more than you think he should. You're going to have to remind him. You're going to have to articulate them to him, because they're not on his mind like they're on your mind. And fellas, I would say the same thing. Sometimes you want something to happen, or you think your wife should be thinking about something. Then she starts, doing a bunch of other stuff in the house. And you're like, hey, we were supposed to watch a movie together, but she is like folding the laundry. Maybe she doesn't want to spend time with me. I wouldn't presume that. She just got a bunch of stuff on her mind. You should say, hey, are we going to go watch a movie together? Oh, yeah. Let me tuck this up, and then I'll be right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, the communication part is important. Don't assume that people are doing a negative thing to you They just they don't have the same things on their mind that you do.
Okay, one more. Ready?
Yep.
Dear Live from the Path.
Yep.
My sister and I have always had a decent relationship, but for about the last 2 years, we haven't communicated with each other. I recently learned that she and her husband had a baby 3 months ago, making me an uncle. This is their 4th child, and they just announced the child's name. What's bothering me is that I got the information through a general Facebook post. I was never contacted to be told I was about to become an uncle again. Should I be upset about this? I'm the only brother and family member left. Yeah, them having a baby is definitely about you. I would go over to their house and demand that you are kept more up to date. It's their 4th kid. You aren't just becoming an uncle. You've been an uncle.
Right.
And apparently you haven't talked to the other 3 kids for 2 years. I don't think you've earned a huge standing.
Yeah. There's something weird. Because, like, we were super close, and then 2 years ago we stopped talking to each other. That doesn't just like, oh, I lost your number and then forgot to try and get it back.
I forgot.
Like, you're on Facebook, which means, like, we've had the possibility of communication for 2 years, but we haven't. You're simplifying something that either you just didn't know happened or are not telling us this and want to seem like a victim.
Yeah, maybe you guys don't have anything to talk about, right? Like you brother and sister. I mean, if something doesn't cross your mind, like in a week, to like you know send them a video or like remember that time that mom and dad blah 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 did something stupid something or other, right? Like, and this hasn't come up for 2 years. Maybe you're just not very close.
I've gone a year without talking to a family member many times,
For sure.
and it wasn't even that impactful. I
Yeah.
was just like, I remember you live and are alive.
Yeah, I think you might be creating a hurt based on like some idea that you should be hurt. Like you don't even know if you actually are hurt, but you feel like you probably should be.
Right, I'm an uncle. I should know about this, not from Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, why don't you stop by there? Here's the thing: is like all the onus is not on the people, like on your sister and her husband, and apparently they got 4 kids. Like that household's got some stuff to do, and you're over there swinging over at your house, like creating hurt feelings because no one like gave you a personal call. I mean, why don't you stop by there, check on them kids every once in a while, be the fun uncle, show up with some bikes. You know what I'm saying? Do something uncly.
Be the fun uncle. Show up with some bikes.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like sounds like you suck as an uncle. That's what I'm getting at. And so if you if you're ignoring the other kids for 2 years, what's the point of telling you about the 4th one?
Be the funkle and show up with a karaoke machine.
Yeah.
I mean, even being casually involved with their lives, you within 9 months you'd figure out at some point,
Right.
hey, you're gaining some weight there,
Yeah.
sis.
Hey,
know, it's
sis,
like,
you got
oh,
fat. What
I mean,
happened?
Yeah.
Hasn't this happened before?
Yeah, you should be seeing this at Little League games or school
Right.
choir concert or something.
That's a long time.
I mean, there's a chance they don't live in the same area.
Yeah, well, I mean, if that's the case, then yeah, they probably are apart, and their relationship is not as close as it was, and
Right.
that's okay.
And that's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just regular.
Yeah.
I think you should stop. I feel like you're creating a let's talk about me bubble,
Okay.
and I think it's unnecessary.
All right. What's secular guy say on that one?
Whoa, let's talk about it some more.
What?
Yeah, you don't get to move this thing along. I decide when we go to the secular's advice.
When Ben says it in 5 seconds and we move on to that.
I like it when Ben says it.
Yeah,
It's
I
just,
can tell.
It's actually
that
just,
was the situation.
It's
Yeah,
just
I
when
feel
you
it.
say it that I'm like,
Yep,
whoa.
yep, I can feel that way.
What does secular say about that?
I think we should talk about this some more, actually.
Secular says, despite Boofus and friends that we talked for longer, much depends upon the reason you and your sister haven't been in contact for 2 years. Could you have had a falling out with her or her husband?
Maybe.
Have you tried communicating with her? She may have felt slighted or that you weren't interested in a closer relationship. Because this has upset you, pick up the phone and straighten this out with your sister before you drift further apart than you already are. Half the blame for this may be yours, but you won't know for sure unless you ask. Hey sis, this is bro. Is some of this blame on me? Yeah, start just like that.
Hey, I went back to your MySpace page and I poked you and you never sent anything to me.
Yeah. I learned about all your big life happenings through general Facebook posts that you chose. Like these are supposed to be your friends. That's what Facebook is. It's you say these are my friends. They get to see all the things. Like I mean, would you want like a personal envelope letter?
You named your baby Ezekiel?
You named your kid Todd Sucks? Man, I think that was about me. Oh, Todd.
You would think that.
You
Yeah.
would think that.
Yeah, that's the right question. Hey, do you know any other Todds? I just want to start there.
Let's just start off there. Any
Yeah.
other important Todds in your life?
Maybe
Nope? Okay.
Yeah, maybe you're calling him on accident and you think it's your brother Todd, but it's really
Todd Suckus?
Yeah, that sucks.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. You've been listening to Live from the Path. If you have any feedback for us on the show, you can give us a call on the old Live from the Path complaint line. Here's what I'm going to tell you. You went so long without giving any substantive response on the complaint line that they tried to shut it off. They said, hey, are you
Right.
sure?
This isn't even a working number anymore.
Are you sure? Are you still there, Live from the Path? And they're quick on it because as I look back, I think we had some texts towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
So it wasn't very long. But just to keep us in the good graces of the phone company, if you could give us some feedback on Live from the Path, it's 515-517-0085. Call or text or start the new year off right and give us the old review. I looked on the Apple podcast. We're not super extensively reviewed there. We could use some help and get some play on the Apple podcasts. That's where most people. It's the top podcast provider. We are not well represented.
If I were to go on to Player FM, would I be able to review the podcast?
I don't think the other people have glaucoma who use that service, and so they wouldn't be able to read it.
You just lump me in with people who have glaucoma.
Yeah, that's the kind of people.
What a weird group to be lumped in
Player
with.
FM.
Okay. All right, that's me, I guess.
You also have blue hair.
Future hot dogs and glaucoma with Buva.
All right, that's it. We're going to cut you loose. Thanks for hanging out with us on Live from the Path. We hope to see you next time. In the meantime, be faithful in the means. God will handle the ends. You've been listening to Live from the Path.